What do you do now on
Good
Mayorkas?
to see you, Neil.
Thank you, sir. What do you do now regarding Mayorkas?
Well, we're going to wait till Steve Scalise gets back and vote again. What we discovered was we have the votes, right? We went 215 to 215, and of course, Steve was finishing up his treatment. He'll come back next week. We'll vote again, and the impeachment will stand.
All right. Now, Al Green, the Democrat of Texas, is the guy you probably didn't figure on showing up. He was rushed to the floor at the last second.
Right.
That tied the vote and made obviously impeaching Mayorkas impossible. But I did want to ask you about the conversations you were having, and maybe I was reading too much as I was watching this unfold, with Congressman Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin, who was a no vote, but it looked like you were trying to swing him on your side. What happened with that?
Yeah, I was sharing with Mike. Mike and I are good friends. We are deep, students of Chinese history and, even Confucian philosophy. And I sometimes get together and just talk about that stuff and how it impacts our enemy today there. But we had a conversation about the Chinese nationals that are coming across the southern border. And I reminded him 28,000 last year, 19,000 since October. And I said, look, it's a wide open border. Our enemies are penetrating that border. And you're sitting here supporting the guy who has opened that border against the laws that have been passed by Congress. Basically, Mayorkas has blown off this co-equal branch of government, and it didn't sway him. So he continued his no vote.
Are you still friends?
We're still friends, but he and I are going to have another conversation next week when we get back into town.
Let me ask you, because one of the reasons why he couldn't go along with this, he said that impeaching Mayorkas would open a Pandora's box. No evidence of high crimes and misdemeanors. What Republicans are attempting to do to a Democratic cabinet secretary could easily be done in the reverse if it's a Republican cabinet secretary, you say?
Well, I would say that if Mayorkas was a Republican and he was completely subverting the laws of Congress, basically imposing what he wants immigration to look like. He hates the way the People's House has decided it ought to be run, and he's just implemented in his own tyrannical way his idea. And I would say if that were a Republican violating the basic premises of our government, that we write the laws and they execute the laws, they don't get to pick and choose, right? Even the Democrats in the Iran-Contra hearing pointed that out. I would impeach that Republican. So, Mike thinks this is going to give the Democrats a free excuse to just impeach any Republican secretary, and I don't think that logic stands.
Obviously, you can go after him and question him and what he's doing, but it's really his boss, right? If his boss, the president, wants him there, isn't telling him to go or leave or even, wrap his wrists, nothing's going to happen, even if you get this other vote, right?
Yeah, so that question I get a lot, Neil, and it's really for me, I went to West Point and duty, honor, country. I do my duty. And just because the Senate isn't going to do its duty and remove a lawless secretary, that doesn't mean I don't do mine. And so we're going to do this next week. He will be impeached next week. And what the Senate does, well, that'll be on the Senate. But, I'm going to do my duty. As for the president, look, the secretary has been charged by law in the basic laws that created his department. He is held responsible. It names the secretary as responsible for border security. It is his job, it's job description, and he's failed.
So let me ask you about Speaker Johnson. They said that he botched this. He was caught off guard by Al Green suddenly showing up, that a seasoned speaker wouldn't have let that happen, or certainly would have been aware of it. They mentioned Kevin McCarthy would have been aware of this, that he's not showing speaker gravitas. Do you agree with that?
I don't think so. I think there were two surprises, not only Al, but, Gallagher was a bit of a surprise. And I had met with Mike last week. Yeah, that kind of surprised us. So there were two surprises. This happens all the time. It happens when the Democrats are in control. To suggest that there's somehow bad leadership because of it. We just turn around and, the good thing that he did was to have Blake Moore flip his vote so that this thing can be brought back up. That was smart move on his part. So, I don't blame the speaker for this at all.